Hello, in this video we are going to go over comparing rational numbers. We are going to fill in each circle with a less than, greater than, or equal to symbol to make a true sentence. I am going to assume for this video that you know how to use a less than or greater than symbol and that you are aware that the mouth of the symbol always opens up towards a larger number. Now, when comparing any numbers, not just rational numbers, you want to make sure your numbers are in the same format. That means, however, whatever you're doing, make them the same thing. So, for example, number one, they are both fractions. So I don't have to worry about that. But they do not have the same denominator. So I will make them have the same denominator. There is a shortcut that I will do near the middle of the video. So a good common denominator for 4 and 5, I would do 4 times 5 is 20. And since I did 4 times 5, I'll do 3 times 5 and get 15 for my fraction on the left. And then 5 times 4 is 20. So I'll do 4 times 4 is 16 for my new fraction on the right. And then since 16 over 20 is larger than 15 over 20, the mouth of the alligator, or the mouth of the symbol, will open up towards 4/5. Problem number 2, they are also both fractions, and they also both have denominators of 4 and 5. The only difference with number 2 is that they are negatives, so I can stress and remind you that the left side of the number line, that is left of 0, numbers go backwards. So for example, negative 13 is larger than negative 17. So a good common denominator again would be 20. 4 times 5 is 20, and then 3 times 5 would be 15, and it is negative. 5 times 4 would be 20, and then 4 times 4 would be 16, and it is negative. And again, because the negative side of the number line goes in the opposite order, negative 15 is larger than negative 16, so the mouth of the symbol open up towards the negative 3/4. Now, this is the way that works every single time for all of our comparing. There is a shortcut that works when you have two just fractions, and that is to cross multiply, going up. 5 times 3 is 15, 4 times 4 is 16, 16 is larger than 15, so 4/5 is larger. Problem number 2, if I do the same shortcut, 5 times 3 is 15, but the number is negative. I'm not multiplying negatives. I do 4 times 4 is 16, and because our number is negative, we use a negative 16. And because negative 15, again, is larger than negative 16, the negative 3/4 would be larger. But what happens if we have a more advanced problem? Rational numbers means it doesn't have to be a fraction, it could be a decimal. When I'm comparing a fraction with a decimal, again, the main rule for comparing is make them the same. So I have a choice here. I can make them the same by making them both fractions. 3/10 is how you read this decimal, so the fraction would be 3/10. And then I find a common denominator. A good common denominator for 4 and 10 would be 20. I could do 4 times 5 is 20, and then that means 1 times 5 is 5. 10 times 2 is 20, and then 3 times 2 is 16. You could also do bigger ones. If I did 40 as a common denominator, the answer would not change. The right side, 6 over 20, is larger than 5 over 20. 12 over 40 is larger than 10 over 40. I could also use my shortcut once I have two fractions. 10 times 1 is 10, 4 times 3 is 12. No matter what method you use, the right side is the larger number and 3/10 is bigger. So 1/4 is less than 3/10. But I don't have to do fractions. If I wanted to take the same problem and make them both decimals, I can. If you know what 1/4 is as a decimal, that's fine. You could just make it a decimal. If you don't, you do the long division, and you find that 1/4 is 25 hundredths. Now I did say make them the same. So when I realize that 1/4 has a decimal that goes to the hundredths place, tenths, hundredths, I must make my decimal, 3/10, go to the hundredths place by adding in a 0. It's now 30 hundredths. Once they both go to the same place value, I can then compare them. Since 30 is bigger than 25, 30 hundredths is bigger than 25 hundredths, and that means 1/4 is less than 3/10. The thing that you need to remember is that whenever comparing, you need to have them in the same format. And if you're doing fractions, you should find a common denominator.